Hey guys, this is Alex from Volair Sim. Today I'm going to be showing you how to mount your Thrustmaster HOTAS WARTHOG onto your Volair Sim chassis. Now, just before we get started, I'd like to thank Thrustmaster for sending this to us so we could show you how to mount it on your flight simulator. So before we get started here, there's a couple things I'd like to go over, and one of them is you have a couple options for how you want to configure this. So for the throttle, it's going to be obviously going on the left side of your cockpit, and you're just going to be using the side mount for this. Now, for your joystick, you're going to have two options. You can either mount it on the right side using a side mount, or you can mount it in the center between your legs using a center mount. But today we're going to be using the side mount to mount it on the right side. So to get started, we're going to go with the throttle first. So as you can see on the back, we have this heavy back plate here. And on the back plate, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screws that hold it on. Now I've already moved 4 of them. I left one on, but what you're going to want to do is just remove all of these screws. So I'll remove this last one now. And it's really easy, just they come right off. Like that. And then you're going to have this back plate that's going to come off. And you can just go ahead and put that aside. Now, what you're going to see is you're going to want to use these two screw holes right here on the top. And you're going to take your side mount, and then you're going to look and see these two holes right up here. Now you're going to want to, what you're going to do is line them up like so. So those two holes on the top match these two holes on the top of the throttle. So you're just going to want to line them up like so. And then what you can do is you can reuse the screws that were on the back plate, and you can just screw them right in. So I'm going to get this one started, and then look for this one, get this one started, and I'm going to screw them in here. And they should just go right in. Just make sure they're nice and tight. Alright, that's good. And then you might think that because there's only 2 screw holes, it might not be very sturdy, but as I'll show you when we put it on, this holds it on very snug and it won't move at all. So I'm just going to put this aside for now, and let's move on to the joystick. So you're going to look on the back of the joystick, and kind of the same thing. You're going to have this back plate. On the back plate, you're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4 screws. Now, this is where it kind of changes from the side mount. But for both of them, you're going to want to remove all of them, which I will do now. But if you were using a center mount, you would just put the center mount on, and the center mount is actually pre-drilled for this joystick. So what you do is put these screws almost in the exact same place as they are now, just on that side mount. Now the screws on here are different from the throttle, so make sure you don't get those mixed up. There we go. So got these come off right here, and then you can put this side mount aside. So what you're going to do is you're going to be screwing them right here into the side mount on one side. And now just be careful you don't get these mixed up with the screws from the throttle, because they are different screws. So you're going to just put them in on one side, and you might want to just hand start them because it can be a little tricky to get on. But once they're started, just screw them in. Make sure they're nice and tight. This one. Once they're nice and tight, you're good to go. Now you might think that this might be loose as well because it's one side, but as we'll show you when we put it on the chassis, it's actually very tight on here and will not move at all. So we'll show you how to put it on the Volair Sim chassis. So once you have your joystick mounted to your side mount, what you're going to do is just take it over here. You already have your side mount here, and you're just going to run it through and just slip it right on, and then you can go ahead and tighten it with this thumb screw, and then you can also position it to however you need it. And then once you get on there, it should be nice and tight. As you can see, I can move this around. It's not going to be moving off at all. It's really secure on there. And I'd also like to point out that you may want to get a left keyboard tray mount, because I know for some people this might be a problem with this interference here. So if you want that or interested in that, it's $29 on the website. Then it'll mount it over here and give you a lot more space, and you won't have this interference here. Other than that, you put it right on, tighten the thumb screw, it's nice and tight and secure. So after we set it up here on the Sim, I'd like to point out just a couple things. The first being is that we did mount the keyboard on the left hand side using the left keyboard mount. Now as you can see, this gives a lot more clearance here and you won't be running into anything. And now you really only need this if you're planning on mounting the joystick on the right hand side, as if it's going to be in the center mount, you should not have a problem with the right keyboard mount here. And then I also like to point out with our throttle here, what we did is we used a USB extender here to wrap it all the way around to the computer. And so I recommend you might need that to get some extra length. And then what you can do is once you have it here, you can zip tie it actually to the chassis and kind of run it along the tubing here to make sure it's nice and neat and you're not going to be tripping over it or anything. I'd also like to talk about we're running X-Plane 11 here, and when I had initially plugged both of these in, it went fine. It shows up, you just calibrate it, and it automatically works, except for this joystick, which was not being recognized. And the reason being is I also had this yoke plugged in. So what I had to do is go into the device manager and manually disable the yoke, and after that it works fine. So that just might be something you might have to do if you're running in those issues. But I'd just like to show you real quick how easy it is to configure controls in X-Plane 11. So for example, we have the flap switch here on the yoke, up right in the middle and then down. So what I like to do is you just go up here when you're in the pause and go to the right hand side, and there's this icon right here. Just click on it, make sure you're on joystick up here, and then you just select whichever you want from the drop down. And for example, if we want the flaps button, we'll look here, it says number 8. So all we have to do is just go down right here to number 8. Now I already mapped it, but I'll just show you. It would say probably do nothing or be mapped to something else. You just hit edit, type flaps in right here, and then you can just choose what you want. So if I want flaps up a notch, I just hit up, hit apply, and there you go. Now it's set in there. So it's super easy to set up the controls. It's just a matter of just going in here and just hitting edit, and you can even search which one you want. So I hope this helped everyone for setting up their Thrustmaster HOTAS Warthog on the Volair Sim chassis, and thank you guys.